So Father Michael, what's the most detrimental thing to a man figuring out his vocation? I think it means, but what hinders his discernment? Maybe that's a way of saying it the most.
I think shallow spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just, men have not been taught to pray. So I think that hurts. And then discouragement from others.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of families that maybe even 15 years ago would have been over the moon at the thought of a vocation. Now there's such an erosion of trust with the church, the institutional church. They say like, no, maybe not. And so guys aren't pursuing it because they don't have that interior strength through prayer, and they don't have exterior support through people encouraging them.
If you've got a guy you think's called and, you think he's struggling, I wrote a book for young men and women, actually, when we were in college ministry. It's called Into the Deep, Finding Peace Through Prayer. And it's we teach it actually in the High Calling program. And that might be a good way to get a guy moving the right direction, is just even giving him you could read the book in an hour, but it'll teach him how to encounter Jesus in the Gospels in a very powerful way. The other thing, Father, that comes to mind too, is just getting caught in a cycle of mortal sin, habitual mortal sin, and certainly helping guys understand the power of the proper understanding of the sacrament of reconciliation, for instance, not using that as a psychological balm, but actually as a means to both be forgiven and given the strength to overcome the sin. Taking advantage of spiritual direction is somebody that can help them get past that and the shame that relates to it, like Joe was talking about. But so the number one, you're saying, Joe, I don't know, you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would just echo the both of you really, and highlight the reality of sexual addiction. That is, I would say, number one. But if a man has a prayer life and someone working with him, he can break free from those chains.
Yep.
Chains. But, we're talking about the phone, and it just takes. It's just right here, right? And we all know here what that looks like, what that means. But it is to say that is very real and certainly detrimental, because then of the shame and then ultimately fear, as we talked about, it leads to. And this is something we, all of us here need to be praying for, that men can break free from that addiction, because it's detrimental, and men can break free from it, and they have. I know, Dan, your son Jordan does work in this area, and it's something we need to be praying for.
You can send guys out, just since you mentioned it, do the harder thing on Instagram. They have a men's group out there that helps one another to keep accountable, get holy.